In this video, we're going to be making this gorgeous granny square. Now this pattern is from this book just here, the Pocket Book of Crochet Squares, which is a really lovely mini magazine. And this magazine came alongside Crochet Society Box 38. If you haven't heard of Crochet Society, it is a subscription box where you get a lovely surprise box full of yarn, crochet hook, stitch marker, extra bits to go with some projects, and also an extra gift as well. It also comes with this mini magazine where you have your makes within there, the patterns that you can create. So it's a really lovely, fun way to get some new pattern ideas, learn some new techniques. Now they currently have some past boxes available for just £10, including this one and some others as well. So I'll leave a link in the description box so that you can go and take a look at that. But let's go ahead and get started with this granny square. So this square can actually be made in two different colours. However, I'm just going to do it in one single colour today. And if you get the magazine, the mini magazine with the box, then it will give you instructions for doing it in two different colours. But this is what it looks like if you choose to change colour. So let's go ahead and start with a magic ring. We want to lay our yarn over our finger like so. Wrap it around your finger so that you have an X on the front and then you have two strands on the top of your finger. You want to go underneath that first strand and then pull that second strand through, twist your hook, and then you're going to grab the working yarn and pull it through to make a chain. That just secures it and makes it easier for you to remove your finger from the magic circle. So first of all, for this pattern, we are going to begin with a beginning cluster. So that starts off with a chain 2. Now we've already done a chain 1, so we're just going to chain 1 more, and then we're going to yarn over, insert into that magic ring, yarn over, pull through, you'll have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over again, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. You'll be left with 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. We then have a pattern repeat, and we're going to make 8 of these clusters in total. So what we want to do is chain 2 and then work a normal cluster, which is yarn over, insert into the magic ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So that is our second cluster. We'll repeat that again. Chain 2, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through all 3, and that is our third cluster. So you're going to repeat that chain 2 and cluster until you have those 8 cluster stitches, and then meet me back once you're ready. Okay, so I've just worked my way around. I've just done my 8th cluster stitch. I'm going to finish off with a chain 2 so that we're creating a chain 2 between the last and the first cluster. I'm going to cinch in my magic ring, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that beginning cluster, and that is round 1. So now that you've joined with the slip stitch, we'll move on to round 2. We actually want to turn our work at the end of round 1, and we're going to slip stitch into the next chain 2 space, like so. And this is just going to move us into that space just there. We're going to start off with a beginning cluster, so that's chain 2, and then yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to move over to this next chain 2 space where we'll work 3 treble crochets. So remember, I'm working in UK terms. In the US this is known as a double crochet. So it's yarn over, insert into that next chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through, you'll have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, you'll have 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over, pull through both loops on the hook. That's 1, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, that's 2, and then yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, that's 3. We're now going to move over into the next chain 2 space, so we'll chain 2, and then we're going to work a set of stitches to form the corner here. So we're going to do a cluster stitch, a chain 2 and a cluster stitch all into this same chain 2 space. So that's yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, you're left with 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook, chain 2, and then work another cluster stitch into that same chain 2 space. We're going to chain 2, move over into the next chain 2 space and work 3 trebles. 1, 2 and 3, chain 2 and work those corner stitches again, cluster stitch, chain 2, cluster stitch. Move over into the next chain 2 space, chain 2, and then 3 trebles into that next chain 2 space. 2 and 3, chain 2, and work those corner stitches into the next chain 2 space. So cluster, chain 2 and cluster. Chain 2, 3 trebles into the next stitch, 1, 2 and 3, and when I say stitch I mean this chain 2 space as we've already been working in, and then chain 2, and that brings us to this beginning cluster. So in the same chain 2 space as the beginning cluster, we're going to work a cluster stitch, chain 2, and then join with a slip stitch into the top of that stitch. And there we have our round 2. So if I just point out here where these cluster stitches and chain 2s are, if I just pull it out like this, you can see the square, and those clusters and chain 2s form the corner spaces, whilst these sets of 3 trebles here, here, here and here form the sides of the square. So we're going to turn our work again and move on to round 3. We'll slip stitch into that next chain 2 space. That just gets us into position, and we'll start off with our beginning cluster. So we'll chain 2 and then work a cluster stitch. We'll then chain 2 and then into the next chain 2 space we're going to do 2 trebles. So 1 and 2. We're then going to work 1 treble into the next 3 trebles, so into the top of the stitch. 1, 2 and 3, and then work 2 trebles into that next chain 2 space, chain 2, and then we're going to work the corner. So I'm going to use this as the start of the pattern repeat. We want to work that corner with a cluster stitch, a chain 2 and a cluster stitch. We'll chain 2, work 2 trebles into this next chain 2 space, work 1 treble into the top of the next 3 trebles, 1, 2 and 3, 2 trebles into the next chain 2 space and chain 2. And then you will start that pattern repeat again by working the corner section into this chain 2 section between the cluster stitches. So you'll do it once and then twice more. That will take you up to this last chain 2 space just before your beginning cluster. So go ahead and work that pattern repeat twice more and then meet me back once you're ready. So now that you've done that pattern repeat twice, you're at your last corner. We're going to chain 2 and then work cluster stitch into the same chain 2 space as your beginning cluster. Chain 2 and then work and then join with a slip stitch to your last cluster stitch. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work, and then for rounds 4 to 7 we're going to repeat round 3. So you're going to slip stitch over to the next chain 2 space, work a beginning cluster, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through all 3, chain 2, work 2 trebles into that next chain 2 space, 1 and 2, but this time and for the following rounds you will just have more trebles to work across until you get to the next chain 2 space. So last time we had 3, this time we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And then for the next round you will also have more as well. So it's exactly the same as before, just more trebles in this center section, which creates the edge. So working into those trebles, all the way up to that next chain 2 space, 2 trebles into that chain 2 space, 1 and 2, chain 2, and then you have your pattern repeat. So working into this corner chain 2 space here, we'll work a cluster stitch, chain 2, and a cluster stitch, chain 2, work 2 trebles into that next chain 2 space, 1 and 2, work 1 treble into each of the next trebles up to the next chain 2 space, two trebles into that next chain 2 space, chain 2, and then you can repeat that pattern, repeat again from the corner section. So you do that twice more, 1 and 2, and then meet me back once you have done your last 2 treble crochets in this chain 2 space, followed by your chain 2. Okay, so now you've worked your way around, you've done your last edge and your chain 2. We want to finish off this very last corner. So this is where our beginning cluster is. We're going to do a cluster stitch, chain 2, join with a slip stitch, turn the work, and then repeat that round again for round 5, 6 and 7. You can see this pattern starting to form here now. So go ahead, pause the video and then meet back once you're ready. Okay, so this is what your work should be looking like after your round 7. We'll now move on to round 8, which is the last round. We're not going to turn at this stage, we're just going to continue working in the same direction. We're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next chain 2 space. So this is a UK term. In the US this is known as a single crochet. So into that chain 2 space, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through both loops on the hook. That's 1 and 2. And then we're going to work 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way across to the next chain 2 space. So go ahead, pause the video, work those double crochets across the next chain 2 space. You should have 23, and then meet me back once you're ready. Once you've done those 23 double crochets, you're going to do 2 double crochets into the next chain 2 space, 1 and 2, miss a cluster, and then do 5 double crochets into this corner space, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then miss a cluster. And then you're going to start from your 2 double crochets all over again. So if I just turn the work here, we started off with 2 double crochets into this chain 2 space, 23 double crochets across the trebles, 2 double crochets into the chain 2 space, miss a cluster, 5 double crochets into this corner space and miss a cluster. So you'll repeat that another 1, 2 and 3 times. So you'll end with your 5 double crochets into this corner space, and then meet me back once you're ready. Okay, so once you've worked your way around and you've done your last 5 double crochets into this last corner, you're going to join with a slip stitch into that first double crochet, and then you can go ahead and fasten off, and then all you have left to do is just weave in your ends. You may want to just block this out just so it sits nice and neatly to stop any curling, but it is an absolutely beautiful granny square. And if you like this granny square and want to go ahead and try a few different ones, then you might enjoy this video too.